Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. I am your host, Michael Karvelis, and this is Daily Dive. It is Monday, November the 10th, 2025. This show starts now. On today's awesome show, I'm going to get into part 1 of 3 of my roster move recaps. We're going to talk Vancouver, Ottawa, Las Vegas, and Rochester, key additions and losses for them. And then our second segment, I'll get to Ottawa's new man in charge, which is Dan MacRae. I'll talk about what culture he could bring as new head coach and general manager of the Ottawa Black Bears. And stay tuned for my 13th ranked team this season, including Brett Fruit's comments about the franchise. Without further ado, I want to let you know that this show is presented by the Event Tickets tab at the Netter website. Head to natalkradio.com and click the Event Tickets tab today. And there, you can search for your favorite National Lacrosse League team. It helps you and people like me at North American Talk Radio. Okay, so let's get into our first segment here. I am going to do a roster recap, just part 1 of 3. This will be going over for the next 3 days. I'm doing 4 teams today, as I mentioned at the preset of this show, or however you say that term, onset maybe. And then we'll do 5 and 5 on Tuesday and Wednesday. So I'm going to now talk about the Vancouver Warriors, because obviously they're the ones who added a bunch and really kept a lot. They did bring back Marcus Clarich and Keegan Ball and Christian Del Bianco. And even, I believe, a player that's still, at this point, under the radar is Peyton Cormier. Remember, Peyton Cormier, he wasn't known as the CJ Kirst of the world. Obviously, he didn't have a bunch of brothers playing lacrosse, nor was he very box experienced. But Peyton Cormier is still on Vancouver's roster. And we'll see how many times he cracks the lineup this season. But I am looking forward to seeing the opportunities that he is given, or if he shows something to where he can become a trade asset in the future, God forbid if Vancouver gets any better. But I think Peyton Cormier is a story to look out for because he still was electric in college, and that absolutely matters. I think he played at University of Virginia. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry to Cavaliers and wherever he did play. I'm pretty sure it was Virginia, though. But Vancouver did not just retain their stars. They brought in 3 juggernauts. Can I raise you Shane Simpson, Del Bianco's transition buddy? Every time Del Bianco in Calgary was looking for an outlet, Shane Simpson, one of the best transition guys in the National Lacrosse League, brought him in. Curtis Dixon, is he good? Well, he might be getting old, but yes, he's still very good at playing lacrosse. In fact, just last year, Curtis Dixon led the Calgary Roughnecks in both points and goals with 48 goals and 108 points. And as good as Curtis Dixon might be, like I said, he's getting a little bit on the back nine. He's 37. Well, how about the other guy? Can I raise you Jesse King, who's still only 33? Jesse King, last season alone in Calgary, was, second on the team in points and 4th in goals. He had 30 goals with 106 points. Unbelievable stuff there. Again, the key additions, Curtis Dixon, Jesse King, Shane Simpson. Obviously, you can see why they might be the favorites. I think Buffalo, I get it. I've said it, though, and I haven't made my championship prediction yet, but I will say Vancouver's got one of those stupid-looking rosters where in 20 years, we're going to say, wow, how on earth was that possible? But we're still in the 60s, 70s NBA. We're going to be fine. let's get to the Ottawa Black Bears now. Actually, we'll do them last. And there's a reason for that. So let's do the Rochester Nighthawks. Now, Rochester, not much to flex. They did bring in Zed Williams, but I'm pretty sure Zed Williams played for them last year as well. I should have looked that up before the show. Zed was still hurt. But Zed Williams is going to be on the roster. He's a bruiser. He's a guy that is going to attack the nets and make goalies uncomfortable, and especially without a puppy guarding rule, oh my, you may want to watch out for Zed around the nets. But, yeah, Zed's a big one. Brad McCauley, who already has a fight in training camp / preseason, wow, that's awesome. He took out I forgot what the guy's name was. Let me get to the Twitter real quick. He took out a guy named Justin Morgan. I apologize for not knowing Justin Morgan's backstory, but so far that's the extent of my knowledge on him, is he got wiped out and got literally sat down by Brad McCauley, who Spencer, I believe Conley, of Nighthawks Network, who's very prominent on Instagram. That's a great page to follow, by the way. If you're a Rochester fan especially, Spencer Conley said that's why we needed him, and that was the big part of that game, because I think Rochester ended up losing that game anyways. But excellent stuff from Brad McCauley, because I've said it. Oh, I'm sorry. This show is live. I've said it for about a year or two, probably over a year, that Rochester is a little bit soft. They can be pushed around sometimes. And a guy like Brad McCauley, when you play Buffalo and Rochester this year, I'm interested to see if McCauley can kind of set the tone, if you know what I'm saying, especially if the game's getting out of hand. Hopefully it's not, but if it is. Yeah, so next up, let's do Las Vegas. I know we're kind of throwing on Vancouver and Las Vegas pretty quickly. It's fine, because Vegas not only so we gotta get to the Jack Hanna part, because obviously Jack Hanna, I would be remiss if I did not mention his name first. He is the key to this team, in my opinion. Their goalie situation is not solidified. It is between Landon Kells, Justin Getty, who were there last year. They brought in some hotshot rookie, Caleb Kahn, who last time we checked with Frick and others was still dominating the beginning of training camp at least. I'm not sure how he played in week one, in this past weekend. I believe Cody Jansen, so he said that they beat Oshawa 12-10. I'm curious to see if Caleb Kahn got any action in that game, and if he did, how did he look? Obviously, 12-10 is a win. I don't know if the kid got the play or not. They brought in some guy known as Alex Bouquet, who just goes in there and does his job. I had a lot of fun analyzing Alex Bouquet with the Rush in year one of this show. But aside from the goalies, which obviously is a massive part of this, they brought in Tony Malcolm, very solid defender. They brought in Chris Kluche of the Buffalo Bandits. And if he's not good enough, how about Chase Fraser, who scored a goal? It's on their social media page. I shared it on Daily Dive on both Twitter and Instagram story. Chase Fraser scored a goal, made a nice, nasty move, and scored a goal against that Oshawa team. I didn't check the goalie. I don't know if it was Doug at that point, but it might have been. And if it was, oh boy. But yeah, Chase Fraser's obviously, you hope he takes a giant leap. Anybody heard of Mitch Jones? And again, you hope that Jack Hanna, that can be worked out and he's not traded, because adding in Mitch Jones and Fraser and Kluche and Tony Malcolm and releasing Holden Catoni, by the way, in the process, who I think should be picked up. I haven't seen if he has been, but he should be. I mean, can Calgary use a guy? Just saying. But I do think that Mitch Jones is nice. He's a great player overall, but he is even better if Jack Hanna is also there. So that's an interesting piece of Las Vegas. And unfortunately, it will be a piece of this story until that gets settled one way or another. Let's hope Jack stays in Henderson. If not, oh my. And finally, we'll get to Ottawa. I have said that the Ottawa Black Bears need to add a sidekick to Jeff Teat. I'm not sure if the answer to that is Rob Hellier. I will say that is by far the best Ottawa has done since they've had Jeff Teat, is have that guy. I like Stephen Keogh. He follows the socials and was an electric scorer, but he was on the back nine like the final hole of his career. A lot of golf references for me recently. But Rob Hellier, last season, I know he led the Seals in points. I was still disappointed. I thought Rob Hellier was going to have a bigger year. I know he had 29 goals and 64 assists. I thought he could have done better than that. This is a player who's 33, has been in the league since 2011, obviously with the Toronto Rock, was with the Dogs for a couple years with Jack Hanna and John Donville, and last year was with the Seals. Now, he did have his most goals in 3 years, but I'm honestly scared. Now, Jeff Teat's a great passer. I'm hoping Rob Hellier can step up more this year, because last year I felt he didn't. I thought he could have scored 35 goals, and that team was Wesley Berger bust, unfortunately. They also added a new head coach and GM, which we knew was inevitable, and Dan MacRae. Now, what does Dan MacRae bring to this team? Well, I'm glad you're sticking around, because when I come back to Daily Dive, I'm going to, first of all, talk about a little bit of training camp stories that happened over the weekend, a little bit of headlines like from the Rock rookies, what the Buffalo Bills defense looks like with the puppy guarding, and a weird scoring controversy. But we'll also talk Dan MacRae in the next segment. You're watching Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're just getting started on today's show.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Welcome back to Daily Dive, the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. I want to remind you to subscribe to the channel before you leave at North American Talk Radio, where you can catch every day of Daily Dive for free. Who knew? YouTube is a platform where you can just upload videos and you don't have to worry about investing in something called Daily Dive Plus, because that would be insane. A couple of training camp storylines, should I say, from this past weekend. We have a comment. Good morning, everybody. No. Pat Gregoire, no. I know that might have stirred up some people. I was expecting better from Rob Hellier, and he might have a similar year in San Diego, but I thought his goal scoring, I thought it could have reached 35. And it felt like watching those games, it was all, I mean, Wesley Berger, like I said, 48 goals, great year. But I needed Rob Hellier to do more. And watching as many Seals games as I did, I'm like, what is happening? Like, why is he not getting the ball late? Yes, but again, Pat, we're not doing this. We're not doing the points thing, because I've told you guys, I know 41 primary assists. I think those secondary assists inflate a lot of points. And until the NL has a way to fix that stat, I'm not 93 points led the Seals. Good for them. How many teams had multiple 100-point scorers? Come on now. Regardless of that, we're moving on to training camp points or headlines here. So, Halifax and Colorado had the funniest thing of the weekend by far. Colorado posted this was on Facebook. It might be on Twitter as well, but on Facebook, which I'm banned from, by the way. I don't know why. Colorado said, tie game 14-14. I'm like, that's odd. I don't know how that even happens. I think, and Pat, you can correct me if you're still here, if I'm wrong, if I didn't scare him away. I'm pretty sure after, and it may be different in preseason, but doesn't, like, in a game, if it is tied, even after the overtime, like, you go to a shootout? I don't know what that rule is, but I feel like I heard that a few years ago. I could be wrong. But no, Colorado said it was tied. Halifax said they won 14-13. Now, it seems like, to me, there was a little bit of commotion. Apparently, I believe, I wish I knew who said this. I should have written their names down. Oh, okay, so Todd Whittam, who follows me, says, nobody knows. 3 times during the game, it took the scorekeeper more than 5 minutes to put the Mammoth goals on the board. I love this. Love this so much. Wow. So, wait. Honest question is, I don't know. Is there ties in the NLL if overtime ends? Because thankfully it has not happened with the sudden death thing. I am genuinely curious, though, if the overtime ends with nobody scoring, do we do ties? I would also be very upset if that was the case. Like I said, thankfully sudden death makes that not happen. But I was curious. Again, what a weird thing that happened. I just thought it was a fun thing to talk about. Lots of goals, though. Speaking of lots of goals, CJ Curse got his first goal, thankfully. Okay. That's awesome. Continuous overtime. Thank you, Pat, for that information. I genuinely did not know. Like I said, sudden death has helped that. But I do want to witness a game in the near future where it's like it goes that far. That'd be awesome. I guess that the time goes off regardless of that. Good information there. So yeah, 14-14 seems a little suspicious. I'm going to go with Halifax won the game. Anyways, CJ Curse got his first goal. I was busy that night, so I could not watch the full game live. I will say it was very pretty. Like Mark Matthews set him up and kind of like brought defenders to the left side of the floor, left side of the floor. And CJ Curse ripped one. Beautiful. Unfortunately, remember when on this show, like last week, when Steven Stamp said that I forgot the guy who was drafted after Tom Schreiber, but it was like Tom Schreiber and another guy like a few games into the year in Tom Schreiber's rookie season. Another guy had more points, and one of Steven Stamp's editors asked him, "Is this guy better than Schreiber?" And Stamp said no. Wow. Owen Hiltz had a hat trick. Oh my. I'm not going to make that narrative because I think both players can actually be awesome from what I've gathered. I know Pat does the scouting. I know Stamp does the scouting. I am very curious if Owen Hiltz is also awesome. Wow, what a first 2 draft picks. But that was a bang for them. Kieran McCardle, that's right, was the one with Tom Schreiber. Thank you again. Pat was information galore. But yeah, Owen Hiltz and CJ Curse, we're not starting that argument. I just thought it was an interesting thing how quickly that came up after Stamp said that. Great stuff. Great content on Daily Dive. I meant to make a reel out of that. Oh, Buffalo Bandits puppy guarding. Oh my. Shout out, I think it's Buffalo Sports Club. I love these guys. PK. I don't know why I was the other guy's name. It's Phil and PK. They do a lot of like Buffalo sports and a lot of Bandits stuff as well. I, on Twitter, had to fire up the people. Calgary Roughnecks posted a video. Great ball movement. McIntyre to Gauthier. Nice goal. Now, Matt Vince is not playing in this moment. I don't know if he played at all. For the record, in that game, Cody Jansen did say, and he scattered the social media, but he did post it. Calgary won this game 13-6. All right, so Calgary posted that video of a nice job working the crease, and I said the Buffalo Bandits defense without puppy guarding suddenly a Swiss cheese city. And to be fair, I think the goalie made a great effort trying to get a save there, but it is very interesting watching Paul Dawson, and I didn't look at the name of the other defender. They're like, they want to be there, but they don't. It's like, uh-oh. Like, again, those power play kills, I'm telling you right now, folks, we don't want to talk about it because I believe Buffalo is going to find a way to win a championship if they are that good, which they have been for 3 years, make no mistake. And I loved it. The history of a three-peat, I loved it because the Chiefs couldn't pull it off, the Kansas City Chiefs, and I was mad for it. But that looks a lot different. And it might be a power play. I'm not sure. That looked a lot different than what we saw the last 3 years. And to Brett Fruit's credits, he went on OTCB before the new rule was actually enforced. And he said that it was not a Buffalo Bandits rule, even though myself and Teddy and Pat have called it that, just saying. I called it the puppy guarding rule. That was what I first called it. I think my first year of Daily Dive. I will say, during a penalty kill, that's a big deal. And it looks like that might have been the situation there. Oh, Cam Weers was our defender. Yeah, so there you go. The penalty kill. And again, guys, I'm not saying, obviously, you do these things to make that work, but it is very intriguing as a fan of the game to see how Weers and Dawson and I think Matisse played some defense last year. Spanger, so many guys can play on that team. I'm so intrigued to see how they manage that. Because when it's 5-on-4, man, oh boy. Fun stuff. And NLL Plus, I'm not going to hate. I just really wish. Oh, by the way, Buffalo Sports Corrective says, how has this been up an hour? My tweet and no one has commented. Thank you for doing the Lord's work. Fire your fans up. I want to see how they react. I love it. No, but NLL Plus, I wish we wouldn't make graphics. I'm just asking the social media department of the NLL one thing here. Can we what's the word? Can we please not make a graphic where 8 games are played, make it an NLL Plus based graphic, and then have one game? Come on, man. Come on. I'm glad the one game was available. And I am being greedy, I will admit. I do wish we had all the games available, but also, if they're all in the same area, like, why not do most of the games? I feel like, I don't know. It might be up to the teams as well, but come on, man. Like, don't make the entire graphic and like, oh, that's the one game, of course, the Toronto Rock. It's fine. I just think it's very weird that last year their YouTube was just fine with that, but now so we're going to be on NLL Plus. Whatever. All right, so we can now officially get into the Dan MacRae segment, okay? And I've been holding this one for a while now. Yeah, I figure. So that's why I kind of was being careful with that. It is up to the league. I mean, up to the teams. That's a fair point. All right, so let's get into Dan MacRae. I think this is, first of all, who is Dan MacRae? He's only 37 for the record. I remember watching him with the Riptide. I unfortunately did not dabble in the NLL before COVID. But Dan MacRae was once a 6th overall pick for the Calgary Roughnecks. He actually went to 2 championships, winning it in 2019. That was the Del Bianco year. Played 178 games between Calgary and then I think the last 3 or 4 with the Riptide, probably 3. I remember watching with the Riptide, but it is interesting. Apparently he stayed with the staff and worked his way up in a way. He had 178 games, like I said, 850 loose balls. Talk about a vacuum, my boy. Credit to you, sir. 197 caused turnovers, 29 goals, 90 assists. Not bad, man. Not bad at all for Mr. MacRae. I will say, though, on August the 14th, he was announced as the new general manager and head coach of the Ottawa Black Bears, a.k.a. the Fighting Jeff Teats. Not to see, I didn't report Dan MacRae. The team did, as far as I know. But I will say this. I speculated last season that, and really I think I put Dan Ladouceur on the hot seat to start the season. And for the record, Dan Ladouceur, for those of you that don't know my history, he was one of the first ever NLL interviews I did. And it was not on Daily Dive. It might have been, but it was like I did Callum Crawford, maybe Jake Fox, maybe Andy Towers, and I think Ladouceur was right there along that same timeline. He was awesome. The fact he came on my show and I was not even Daily Dive at that point, thank you, sir. But it looked like, he was on the way out. And I don't know what he does now. Shout out to Ladouceur. However, there needed to be a new voice. And we're doing the coach GM thing. Good stuff. I do wonder what kind of culture Dan MacRae will set with Ottawa. Now, I could be wrong. It feels like Dan Ladouceur's coaching style would have been a defensive kind of thing. And obviously last year in Ladouceur's defense, get it? That was actually not even, that pun wasn't even intended. But in Ladouceur's defense here, Callum Jones missed a good part of the year. And I know, like we talk about Owen Grant, rightfully so. Guys, Callum Jones is right there as one of the best young defenders. And not just the best, one of the meanest young defenders in the National Lacrosse League. There were times, I think 2 years ago, where I was like saying on the air, this guy didn't care if you were Dane Smith or, I want to take shots at this guy, that's fun, or Justin Morgan. This guy was laying it out. Do you realize the cojones you have to do that? I was impressed. Callum Jones, as a rookie, was laying out star players. He's awesome. That being said, he's just one guy. I do think the Ottawa Black Bears, I'm curious to see the culture MacRae wants to build. I would assume it's defensively still, but maybe a little bit of transition. Pat, I'll get your hot take soon. But I would assume MacRae wants to open up the Jeff Teat a little bit more. And it's a scary thing to think about. Because as I see that out loud, I was like, wow, this guy had 56 goals last year. And I think like a low in assists is like his rookie year, according to Pat when he came on the show last week. But yeah, I found it very awesome that Jeff Teat is still like, we haven't even seen the peak Jeff Teat maybe. You add in Rob Hellier, love that, because I was on this show begging for a guy to kind of balance the situation, and maybe it will. But guys, I'm just interested to see what this guy builds, and I want to see how quickly the Black Bears buy in. Full disclosure, I'll do this now. I'll end with Pat's comment. I feel like it's more optimistic. I let's just say, and I don't know, I'm trying to think of a way to think of, see now people are commenting on the post. I'm trying to think of a way to word this without giving away my predictions. I think Ottawa will be fighting for a playoff spot once again. I'll say that. Much like last year when they were right there and kind of missed it, I think they'll be in a similar predicament this year. Maybe I'll change my mind over what the outcome is, good or bad, but I do think Ottawa will be right around the 500-ish mark, because I think I think next year, like, they could be awesome, but I'm just not bought in, which kind of gives away my cards there, but it is what it is. Pat Gregoire says, hot take. Maybe not. Callum Jones will be the 2026 Defensive Player of the Year. Listen, me. So I guess now, Pat, does that mean this year or does that mean next year? I'm assuming he means like when the award is announced in 2026. I'm assuming it's this year. Honestly, I'm not mad at that at all. I think if Ottawa succeeds in a big way this year, I do think that Callum Jones will contribute heavily. I'm gonna pull up his stats because we're doing it. Callum Jones. This was a Dan MacRae segment for the record. Callum Jones, year 1 with the Ottawa. Well, come on, website. Don't do this to me now. Somewhere over the rainbow. Really? We're going to do this now? Okay. Sigh. What a sigh. I have blanked out on the Callum Jones webpage. I will try this one more time and then give it up. That's unfortunate. Okay. Yeah, so that's what I figured with Pat. I was going to do like the stats and Callum Jones' page decided to break. That's fine. My point is the guy's a stud. In fact, last year alone, I do have this information. Last year alone, he had 68 loose balls, 14 caused turnovers, and if you want to do like caused turnover block shots combined, it was 17 in just 9 games. I do think that matters to their defense. We'll have to see. But again, the question for me is, what does Dan MacRae want to do? You can keep unpacking it with Callum Jones, but according to the roster moves this season, they brought in Rob Helly, which is offense. I did not see much else they did roster-wise. I don't know. Remember, that's all I talked about, Dan MacRae and Rob Hellier, which is why I said next year they could be a force, but this year, that's the big thing. Okay, Pat, Dan MacRae not only has one of the best minds for the game, he's an outstanding player, coach that helped build the mint. Oh, okay. Pat's got another comment coming. The Burlington Blaze, interesting. We're going to wait for Pat's coming on the other side. When I come back, we're going to talk about another team, my 13th ranked team this season, and Brett Fruit's comments on the franchise, which might give you a little insight on what that is. Who comes before Calgary? We'll be right back to Daily Dive.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Pat Gregoire's comments continued. Dan MacRae might not turn Ottawa around right away, but he will help the team become a contender. Being the GM and head coach is a difficult task at the NLL level, but Pat believes he can have success at both positions. That's intriguing. I like that. I like that take. Like I said, like Dan MacRae, the fact that he ended his career with the Riptide after so many years in Calgary makes me very curious to know how much he's bought into this franchise. It seems like, I mean, obviously he's bought in, but like, I am curious, like what he was doing, like to work behind the scenes. I love it though. I love it. Let's talk now about my 13th ranked team. All right. Now, reminder, on Friday, I told the people I thought the Calgary Roughnecks, this was without signing Holden Cattoni, which again, Holden Cattoni has not been signed as far as I know. But if the Roughnecks do not have Cattoni, they signed Ben Foster and took him off the active roster. You morons. Who is above Calgary, though? And I'll be honest, my wins here for this team is heavy wishful thinking. I mean, come on. Really? Like, I'm sorry. Again, I'm not sorry. It just sounds better when I say it. And let's talk about the Brett Fruit comments, because obviously, now this podcast battle, and Pat Gregoire might not even recognize this. I found it out this morning. Teddy Jenner tried to do the Lord's work and asked Brett Fruit on OTCB, co-hosted by Pat Gregoire. Teddy asked Brett Fruit about the Philadelphia Wings. To which Brett Fruit basically did give him an answer. That's fine. Well, he then goes on Lacrosse Classified, and Jake Elliott tees him up. Here was the quote that I got from that. I will not play it. I did not have time to ask Jake if I could play the quotes. I will read it to you now, the things that I got from it, okay? So, Jake mentioned that Philadelphia Wings are a blue blood, and again, we're going to get to the season preview as well, but this is also a glaring thing behind the scenes in Philadelphia, okay? And I reported to you guys almost a year ago, maybe a little bit less than that. I said on this very show that Joe Tsai was funding the Wings, and the reason they were leaving is because the Wells Fargo Arena is a packed mother freaker, okay? That was too much of an... I won't ever say that again, but that was borderline. That was borderline PG-13, okay? Okay, now let's get to this, all right? Jake was talking about the Blue Blood franchise. Brett Fruit basically said, well, that's a lot of rumors there, like regarding like whether the Wings would leave or whatever. He said, with Philadelphia specifically, flagship team intertwined into our league's history. He then talked about like the Hall of Famers that the team has, that they've may have the attendance record, even though I'm calling bullcrap. That could be wrong, but I feel like Buffalo's 19,070 is kind of hard to beat, but we'll see. I don't know what that meant though. I also had Kevin Finneran on the show a couple of times. That was awesome. That being said, Brett Fruit said, our biggest challenge with Philadelphia is Wells Fargo's arena, the second busiest arena in North America behind Madison Square Garden. Now, he talked about the scheduling of that arena and how he said, look at their scheduling this year in Philadelphia. He said it's a problem. It's hard. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You got a bunch of teams moving in and out, a bunch of concerts, etc. Okay? He then said the venue ecosystem has caused headaches for us. It does not diminish how hard that organization is working, how passionate those fans are, which I'm sorry, I'm calling horse crap on that. And I'll finish the quote here and I'll get to that. So again, it does not diminish how hard the organization is working, how passionate those fans are, and their desire from a league perspective to continue having a team there. I'm calling horse crap on the fans, and I'm going to say it this way. Now, Philly fans, you are the loudest, most ignorant people sometimes. You're also loyal, and I respect you. You have not showed up, point blank, period. And I'm not going to use this to attack the fans, but and again, they have had a history of having loyal fans. But part of the reason they are leaving the new barn is because the fans have not packed the arena. It's been a laughing stock at this point, okay? That is undeniable. And if teams are going to work, I get it. There's a handful of fans that are going to be very vocal, and you deserve to be because you're boots on the ground. And that's awesome. Unfortunately, the majority of Philadelphia seems to not care. And that's just me being honest. And it sucks. Yeah, that too. And I have also, he says Calgary Saddle Dome is one of the busiest. And listen, I've told you guys, there's a reason why the players and coaches are running out of town of Calgary, because that franchise is another one, and they are packing the barn, which makes them which makes me mad. That's all on ownership. I think Philadelphia's on fans. Calgary is completely on ownership, in my opinion. There is no way, and I could be wrong, but it appears to me that there is no way Calgary Roughnecks would lose that team unless the ownership seems to not care. And that sucks. Wow, CLL says New Calgary I don't know what that means, is going to be even busier with new rigging systems. Like the new arena. And again, Philadelphia's doing the same thing with their arena. Because then they're bringing the WNBA team. Listen, I have been a big fan of WNBA, and I'm so angry. I'm so angry because I believe the NLL is a way better product and compares to the NBA. I'm not saying WNBA is still not a good product. I'm saying the fact the Wings are going to suffer makes me so angry. But that's also not a media deal, etc., which I've also said for weeks on end that is a problem in the NLL. If there's no extra money and you're selling cheap beer, then yeah, obviously not every artist is Taylor Swift, but a local country singer might have higher ticket prices, and that does suck. But let's now go back on the field. Let's talk about what the players can control. I believe this team, whether they win or lose games, now needs a Brendan O'Neill breakout. I'm going to put faith that it can happen. I'm not going to predict it. I'm going to hope it happens, but I know how hard the transition to box is. I'm not saying O'Neill cannot do it. And again, I'm hoping it happens. I want it to happen. I think it can. I'm not predicting it will. The Brendan O'Neill breakout. That being said, when are we going to get Deacon Knott? Deacon Knott is one of the best young goaltenders in the league, in my opinion. And he's been sitting behind Nick Demude. I like Nick Demude. I thought he was really good for Panther City. I think Deacon Knott has a higher ceiling. He's more athletic. When does Deacon Knott come in? And unfortunately, if Deacon Knott does come in, it means you're losing games regardless. Also, I will predict, and it's kind of not really a bold one here, I think Joe Rez is going to go ballistic again. I think we'll see 40-plus goals from him. We might get 50. I think Joe Rez is going to have a great year in Philly. It won't mean much. I think the Wings finish 5-13. I think they have 2 home wins. I think they win versus Georgia in the home and home there. I think they win versus Toronto on March 29th. I also think they get 3 road wins at Ottawa, at San Diego, and at Oshawa. 5-13. I don't see a scenario where they get over 6. 6 is pushing it. Anything over that, you are absolutely predicting a Brendan O'Neill breakout year. Because, again, Nick Demude is not a slouch. They've got some decent defenders. But they will be bad this year. All right? CLL, Chris Fox and Pat Gregor, Pat saying that's not a shot at Calgary. They still seem... Yeah, absolutely. Calgary gets great crowds. Absolutely. It sucks that that's happening. Chris says these arenas are busy in the winter. He says play in the summer, rip the Band-Aid off. Unleash the Deacon Knott. Yes! I love that. Oh, I like this one. Hey, Tom Schreiber, I love you. But Joe Rez, might be taking the mantle, at least for this year. And then Vegas. Pat, you did say that on Friday that Vegas might trade for Dave Mood and not because Philadelphia's number one. Again, I don't know when that happens. We'll have to see. I think Wings are going to suck. I don't like saying that. Again, when they have Joe Rez, Deacon Knott, and Brandon O'Neill, who I love, I hate saying it. I'm also not going to try to be wrong. I think they're going to finish 5-13. Where do you guys think they finish? And better yet, but the better question, how many wins do you think they get? I'll probably ask that on social media. Oh, there we go. Good morning, Dawson. I'm calling Nick Demood after the season to Buffalo. You know what? I have heard quite a few names being teased to Buffalo. I will hold my ammunition for a later day. But let's just say I don't think Buffalo's going to miss. I'm not going to say the next goalie in there is going to be Matt Vince. But if it is okay. I don't think Nick Demood will be that guy. But of the goalie, especially the big one that I've heard, if it's possible to get him to Buffalo, yes. But again, we're not doing a band sound like this was a Wings topic. I'll leave it there. But yeah, that's a story we have to have at the end of the season, Dawson. We are doing our predictions, not what happens after whoever wins it all. We're not doing that right now. It's too soon, man. It's too soon. Save that, though. Please save that. All right. I was trying to figure out where to get that off of. There we go. This has been Dilly Dive, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We do have quite a few guests lined up for you guys in the near future. Again, which is why I did not tell you last week who might be on Monday. I knew there might have been a scheduling issue, so I will save that information until next time. But until then, just keep your eyes peeled. We're trying to have some fun this season. And the best part is the regular season hasn't even begun. All right. One more comment, and then I'll read and I'll get out of here. Nope, we're not doing that. No, good night. Have a great day. Chop it up on social media at Dilly Dive LAX. We are not doing that right now. Bye, everybody. This has been Dilly Dive.